Dana White's Contender Series is back, and these are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. This is the weigh-in recap show for the Contender Series that I am going to be doing for every single event, as well as a full card live stream fight companion. Make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video as well. And I'll double note it, the Contender Series fight companion going down Tuesday, which is today at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I will be live for the entire Contender Series card. Let's get the first episode of the Contender Series weigh-in recap show on the road. Starting it off, we have Tuan Ho versus Kavanagh. I'm going to be picking Tuan Ho. I actually think that he's got some really good abilities in the striking department. Now, he had a difficult fight recently against Miguel Sanson, who has relatively good takedowns and control and is also pretty long, right? And is able to use his length for grappling. Kavanagh has good boxing and fast stand-up, good power in his left hook, and there's things to like about him, but I think Tuan Ho is a cleaner striker. And also on the ground, what I loved about Tuan Ho in that fight against Sanson is he is always looking to advance position, whether it's to get back up to his feet or search for a finish by submission. I think he's incredibly slick in the stand-up, and I'd say he's a pretty elusive striker, especially at just 23. He's got really good skills in the stand-up, as well as a pretty resilient ground game. He scrambles well. As I said, he is going to be constantly throwing up submission attempts or working to get back up to his feet. Fast transitional speed, good reversals. I like the style. I think he's a really good prospect, and he trains with Sean O'Malley. I think he's special. I wrote down special prospect for him. Now, I think Kavanagh is also really good. He's got big knockout power in his left hook. He's a well-rounded guy who has a pretty good gas tank and seems to be relatively athletic, and I think he's got a UFC future at some point. I just think right now, Tuan Ho, a little bit better, a little bit slicker, a little bit bigger, and I think that he wins this fight. I'm going Tuan Ho. Both guys 6-0. Somebody's O's got to go. I'm going to go a Ho getting it done. I think the experience sparring with the UFC bantamweight champion Sean O'Malley is going to be a major factor, and all the other savages at the MMA lab. And I think he's getting a hard-fought decision win against Kavanagh, who's also a good prospect. And I promise you, will be back on Contender Series and will eventually get a UFC chance. Now, as far as the scales, did they change any of my feelings? No. Tuan Ho looks shredded, jacked, incredible physical condition. I really think this guy's got the goods. I watched the fight of him last time out, and then I dug back to some of his more dominant and impressive knockout wins, and I just think he's got something special here. I really like Tuan Ho. I'm believing in him here. I think he wins. There's Kavanagh, and Kavanagh's relatively good. You see the size difference, though. I don't think Kavanagh is going to have the wrestling ability and top control to control Tuan Ho for a significant amount of the fight. I think Ho, if he is on the ground, is active from the bottom or even potentially threatening with dominance and grappling himself. And on top of that, I think the elusive striking is going to be superior to Kavanagh's. So we're going Lawner to lose. We're going Tuan Ho to take it home. We're getting him by a decision as the official method of victory prediction. He's a really good prospect. Both guys have UFC futures. I would predict that both of them eventually fight in the UFC, but we're going to see Tuan Ho win this one. Listen, last season of Contender Series, first fight was an underdog win. This season of Contender Series, I'm predicting first fight, underdog win. I called it last season. I'm calling it again this season. Plus 145 for Tuan Ho as the dog. I'm picking him as a dog. Kavanagh minus 170. Now, if you're betting Contender Series, bet intelligently. These guys are not proven at a high level, and they're trying out for the UFC. But I think Tuan Ho and Kavanagh both got the goods to make a great fight. And I think Ho is going to get through and get a W and get a UFC contract. Over is minus 220. Probably over. Ho by decision, plus 300. I think the just money line underdog side is fantastic. I think Ho gets a hard-fought win. Him and Kavanagh are going to make for a great fight. And I'm going to be following both of these guys moving forward especially if the fight lives up to the expectation. I'm telling you right now, this right here is maybe the most highly anticipated fight on the whole damn card. Flyweight battle of guys that can make a mark in the UFC in relatively short time. Like I said, Tuan Ho's last win, this Sanson dude is pretty tricky, man. Awkward style, good grappling. He knocked out Latchman, who on paper looks like a can, but he was never knocked out before, and he fights in pro kickboxing and Muay Thai. I see some other wins for him there. You see some W's for Kavanagh. So we have LFA versus Cage Warriors as well. You'll look on paper and say, oh, 4-0, 6-0. Listen, let me tell you something. Sean Marcos da Silva, David Scarano, they are not near the level of Tuan Ho. I'm telling you that. I watched both of those fights for Kavanagh. They're not near his level. Tuan Ho for the W as the underdog to start the Contender Series 2024 season off with a bang. Next fight on the card, we have Jose Miguel Delgado versus Ernie Juarez. I'm going to be going with Jose Miguel Delgado to win. He's another MMA Labs guy. Now, I got to tell you something as I pop out this in. Ernie Juarez is a Stockton dude, so you got to show love to Stockton, but I don't think he's beaten Delgado. I feel like both guys could get hurt in this fight. Delgado was actually dropped a couple fights ago by Romo. Yeah, Alberto Romo, who was 4-1. Granted, he came back and completely dominated Romo in that fight. Delgado has good striking from range, and he's relatively slick from the outside, but he also has good jiu-jitsu, man. He's got a nice jiu-jitsu base, and his lone pro loss is against Chris McCott, who's an absolute savage pressure wrestler, and it was competitive. There was close submission attempts for Delgado in that fight. Now, Ernie Juarez, I feel like he's a workhorse type of fighter. Good pressure, nice kicks, constantly attacking, well-rounded, active from the bottom. Definitely not an elite caliber wrestler. And I think that's what's going to be needed for Juarez to beat a Delgado is clearly superior wrestling, which is just not something that I feel Juarez has. Now, this win here against Kaldar, he was on his back for a lot of the fight. He did a bit more damage. Win against Cody Vogels, destroyed him on the feet and then locked him up in the sub. You can see some other wins here. I feel like we got to go with Mr. Jose Miguel Delgado. I like the game. I like the MMA Lab team. I like the striking from distance. I can see Delgado rocking Juarez. I'm going to say Delgado finds a way to win. I think he finds a way to a finish, too. He's on a 4-fight finish streak. And, dude, he's been fighting constantly. In less than a year, 8 months, he's got 4 fights. He's fighting all the damn time. And, I mean, 3 fights on the other side in the past year for Juarez. So both guys dreaming of getting to the UFC. Both guys this close to it. I think Delgado is a little more ready right now. I'm going to go Delgado to win. I think he might lock up a submission or potentially catch Juarez and get a knockout. Either way, tricky fight. As far as the scales between these two, Stockton's own, Ernie Juarez, who I think could get caught by straights on the feet. Delgado on the other side, and Delgado getting rocked by Romo, then coming back and dominating shows me he's very resilient and has good durability and a nice gas tank. He's in great shape. There's the face-off. I'm saying Delgado gets it done inside distance. I think he finds a way to get a finish here. I like Delgado. Minus 310, he's a big favorite, but I do agree with the odds. At open, he was minus 290. I agree. Juarez is a plus 260 dog. Over 1.5 probably, but in a sense, you're playing with fire here on this matchup because there could be a finish earlier. I like, as I said, Delgado inside distance. Unfortunately, you're not getting much excitement on that line. If you're looking for a plus money tag, it's not this one. You have just minus 165, and now you have to pick method of victory. A knockout is plus 240. A sub is plus 275. Like I said, inside distance is just simply what I feel more comfortable calling as than just, chasing the possibility of him locking up a sub or a knockout. Both in his past 2 were methods of victory for him. So, or rather past 4. You got 2 submissions, 2 knockouts. We're going with Delgado to win. I might favor knockouts simply because, Juarez is a Stockton Gracie fighter. So maybe his jiu-jitsu defense will be good enough. But I can see him getting caught in close. I can see him getting ripped by a big straight punch. I don't think he's as slick as Delgado, and that's why I'm picking Jose Miguel Delgado to get a finish. We're going inside distance, Jose Miguel to take it home. Let's keep running. Featured fight. Bruno Lopes versus Mikel Sazhiniani. Oh, this one is a tricky pick. I'll tell you guys straight up. 50-50 fight between meh light heavyweights. I'm going to pick Bruno Lopes to win. I think he can do it. He is the LFA light heavyweight champion. If you remember last season on Contender Series, he was viciously knocked out by Brenson Ribeiro. But something Ribeiro had that was a massive factor that I think was overlooked by many of us was the length. Ribeiro had what, an 81.5-inch reach, and he was like, what, 6'5", 6'6", if I'm remembering correct? I think 6'5". Bruno Lopes is bigger than Sazhiniani, and his boxing, I think, is better. Where I think Sazhiniani may have an edge is with his kicking skills. He's a little better. With the grappling, I feel like it's pretty close. I mean, Sazhiniani was submitted by Khalid Taha, who also ended up fighting. Is it Khalid Taha? Now we got to look. Talha. Let's see. Which Talha was it? Oh, Murtaza Talha. Excuse me. Not Khalid Talha. I'm mixing him up with somebody else. I think he's a damn bantamweight. They fought outside of Contender Series, right? And Sazhiniani was locked in an armbar. He was actually trying to wrestle in that fight and was unsuccessful. He does have okay pressure wrestling, but ultimately I'm not super impressed by either one of these guys. If I had to guess, neither one of them is going to have great success in the UFC light heavyweight division. I think they run into problems as they move into the UFC caliber opponents. But I think Lopes can get a win here. Method of victory is blurry for me. I think he finds a way to win. Potentially a knockout. I could see him hurting Sazhiniani, but he also has good jiu-jitsu. We could see Lopes shining on the floor. Personally, I would not bet on Lopes. The Sazhiniani bet is okay, but he's undersized for the UFC light heavyweight division, and he doesn't have an elite tier skill set or anything that stands out with high caliber potential that I like. There's Lopes, relatively good shape. He was supposed to win last season. He didn't, and I think he's in a similar spot this season. And then there's Sazhiniani, who looks okay on the scale too. There's the face-off. Lopes a little bit taller and bigger than him. I think he's the better boxer. I think he has more power. Sazhiniani was dropped by a wide hook a couple fights ago. He's okay. Neither guy is, making me jump out and say, yeah, that's somebody that's going to be a UFC champ, or wow, that's somebody who's going to make waves. So personally, betting-wise, doesn't intrigue me all that much. Lopes is minus 210. I do think he does get a victory, but, not my most confident pick ever. Plus 175 for Sazhiniani. Over 1.5, plus 113. Might go over. Sazhiniani, let's see. When's the last time he went long? Sazhiniani is a finisher, 12 knockouts. First round, there was a second round and a decision there, then 4-second KO. But see some cans on the resume. And even the guy Abdullah Asiev that he fought and Christian Torres, these guys are not near UFC level, man. They're cans. And then Marcos Brigaggio for Bruno Lopes. It was an okay fight. He beat him up on the ground and subbed him. Some nice wins in LFA. I'm going to ride with the LFA champ to get a W, but you can hear it in my tone, right? I don't love the betting side of this fight. I don't think many of you guys will either. I'm sure there's going to be some Sazhiniani underdog bettors, but he doesn't have a substantial skill set that I've seen that impresses me just yet. I need to see more. I haven't yet. I'm going with Bruno Lopes to get the win and earn a UFC contract, and it seems like many people agree with 65% of Tapology on the same side. Let's jump to our co-main event of the evening. Meng versus Rami Hamed. I cannot wait for this fight. Both guys are badass strikers with completely contrary styles. Now, I'm going to lean towards Meng because of consistent competition and a tricky style matchup for Hamed. Something to note about Rami Hamed is there is comparisons to Wonderboy with him, but he's much less of a finisher, right? If you look at some of his fights, okay, he's destroying Julio Diaz a year and 8 months ago with leg kicks. Julio Diaz is a can. He's beating Jimmy Alberto Diaz-Zuleta by leg kicks. He's a can. He's beating Elias Santos by a decision 3 years ago. He is a can. Frank Carrillo, he's a journeyman. And then a loss to Isai Sakov, who also lost on Contender Series. I mean, he was submitted in that fight, but he actually dropped him with a big uppercut in the first round. So Hamed's stand-up game is nice. It's like I said, karate-esque, very bouncy style, Wonder Boy comparisons, snapping kicker, good from the outside. Now, Meng Ding is also a striker. He has more of the Thai kickboxing pressure style, though, and I believe that he can make Rami a bit uncomfortable. Meng Ding does have some knockout power. He definitely has good forward pressure, clean punches, good kicks, too. Overall, he's pretty well-rounded, and I would say the grappling skill set of Meng Ding is also going to be superior to Rami Hamed. Even though Meng Ding is known for knockout wins, he may show a little bit of grappling prowess in this fight. Now, what's interesting is Meng Ding is, 3 years younger than Rami Hamed, but he has substantially more pro fights. Look at that. 42 pro fights from Meng Ding, and that doesn't even include kickboxing, which he also is competing in. Rami Hamed on the other side, 12-3 as a pro, but he's inactive. He was supposed to fight last season on Contender Series against Ramad Magomed who Mauricio Rufy ended up upsetting. But I'm telling you this, Aliyev's wrestling would have been hell for Hamed to deal with. I don't like inconsistency. I don't like that he's 33. Meng Ding is fighting all the time. We got, a year and 8 months since his last fight. In the past 2 years, the past 2 years, a little before, we got 3 fights, a loss, and then avenging that loss. And that loss to a name that I will not even attempt to say. Meng Ding is so experienced, man. He fights all the time. Look at the kickboxing fights too, right? If you include kickboxing fights, he's got 5 fights since the last time Rami Hamed competed. I just have to go with Meng Ding being the sharper blade. I think he's going to be more well-versed and well-rounded. He's got a reach advantage. I do think he can close the gap on Rami Hamed. And I'm going to say Meng Ding wins this fight. And I think a decision is relatively live in this matchup. Now, let's look at the scales. Let's see how these guys looks. There is Rami Hamed, who's in good shape, looks excited to fight. Big opportunity. Meng Ding with the receding hairline. Listen, I'm telling you something. Meng Ding gets a UFC contract, maybe gets, performance of the night bonus in a debut. You're going to see him have a Damon Jackson hairline revival. And I hope that he does, because right now that shit is far back. Holy hell. Yeah, we got to get him. We got to get him a UFC contract, because I want Meng Ding to be cleaned up. He needs a lineup, man. He needs a better hairline. That hairline's looking rough. There's the face-off. He's a little taller, a little longer. Hamed's got a striker, and Ding's got better grappling. So I'm going to go with Ding. I think he gets a decision. What's interesting, right, is I was looking at something, and I believe the over is unexpected. The over 1.5 is minus 146. I don't see an early knockout between these two, so I'm going to say over 1.5 if I had to bet something on this fight. Meng Ding is a minus 190 favorite. Rami Hamed is plus 165. I will pick Ding to win by a decision. That's all the way up at plus 500. I guess the anticipation is Ding gets a knockout, but Hamed has only lost fights by submission. Submission win there for Ding is plus 1,000. He does have some submissions on the record. You see here 2 wins by sub, opposite 4 losses by sub with 27 knockouts. It's insane how young he is and how many fights he has. And then Hamed with 9 KOs, but like I said, some cans that he's crushing, man. And he fights okay opposition. He ends up going long. He's inconsistent with fighting. I got to go Meng Ding to win. I'm going to pick him, but I like that over 1.5 at minus 146. That's an interesting play. That's something that intrigues me a lot, I will say. So we're going with Meng Ding by decision over Rami Hamed, which should be an interesting fight for sure. Next fight brings us to our main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. I hope you guys are enjoying the Contender Series breakdown. Mansur Abdul-Malik versus Wes Schultz. Tricky fight. I'm going to go with Mansur Abdul-Malik because I think that he has the gift of knockout power and physical strength where Wes Schultz doesn't have that same skill set. Now, Wes Schultz is a good wrestler. Granted, he did get out-wrestled by Dylan Budka in his lone pro loss. Dylan Budka is now in the UFC. But he was a, All-American Division III wrestler. He he wrestled at all different levels, from junior college all the way up to D1. The dude is a state champion in high school. Wes Schultz has a really good wrestling skill set. Now, Malik also comes from a base of wrestling too. He also was a Division I wrestler, but significantly worse at the collegiate level of wrestling. So if you're thinking that Malik is just guaranteed to body Wes Schultz in the wrestling, I don't think I agree with that. I think Malik is going to have to show his versatile skill set. Something about Malik, he's a lifelong martial artist. He does come from not just a wrestling base, but he was doing jiu-jitsu and grappling at a very young age. He was doing judo as well. And his striking skill set is also okay. I think he might have some sneaky power. I like Mansur Abdul-Malik. I think he's got a special game. Like, this is it. Either Malik has got that, John Jones thing, where he's a special talent coming to make waves, or he's the next Phil Hawes. I think there's no in-between. I'm going to say Mansur Abdul-Malik ends up knocking Wes Schultz out, but Wes Schultz is an absolute dog and not a guy that at 4-1 odds you want to throw substantial heat against, because Wes Schultz wants this bad. He's on a 3-fight win streak. This fight here against Maurice Morris was an early stoppage, though. Adlin Benson, he beat the shit out of, but that guy was just 6-7 and nothing. Zach Eddington was 5-5. Like I said, the Budka lost a year and a half ago. Now, Malik looked like a god in this fight, but Alan St. Gallis was nobody. He's fought a lot of cans. But what I will say is he has the God-given gift of knockout power, the God-given gift of freak athleticism and physical strength, and the dude is a lifelong martial artist at 26, and I think he's going to be the winner of this fight. He's a little bit longer, too, with the 80-inch reach, and I think he's taking it home. I think he's going to potentially get a knockout here. And I think Malik is a better MMA fighter, but if they were just wrestling, I think Wes Schultz may surprise people, but that doesn't matter because we're in the cage and MMA wrestling is different. There is Wes Schultz with the long hair. He's got the swag. He's got the style. He looks a little crazy. That's Wes Schultz, man. He's got a slight lisp, too, so you got to respect him. Scrapping. And then you got Steve Urkel, Mansur Abdul-Malik. I'm telling you, bro, he's nerdy. He's nerdy. Listen to his interviews. I love him, bro. I'm already a fan of Mansur Abdul-Malik. I hope he wins. He seems like a great dude. I'm a fan. I like him a lot. A little bit shorter at the face-off, even though the height is listed the same. See a little bit more dense muscle on Malik, which I think gives him a grappling advantage, even though the wrestling of Schultz is definitely live. I think Mansur Abdul-Malik finds a way to win this thing, and I'm going to pick him to take it home. I'm going Mansur Abdul-Malik for the win. I think he can get a finish. I think he's live for a knockout. I think he's got the God-given gift of power. Minus 340 for Malik. Schultz at plus 280. Looking into things, man, the bet on this one, the odds suck. Over 1.5 plus 165. It wouldn't be crazy if Schultz survived. He's not a bum. Schultz is game. Malik inside distance minus 215. That sucks. Malik knockout minus 150. That sucks. Like, if you're looking for value, just chase the over and close your eyes and hope for the best. Malik should win, but it's an unbettable money line, especially for Contender Series, where, we don't have too much empirical evidence of how they'll look at a high level because they're all taking on legit threats to one another. That is the Contender Series prediction show. That is the weigh-in recap show. We're capping it off with Mansur Abdul-Malik to win. Now, if you are looking to parlay things, be cautious. Be intelligent. I will give you three pieces. Meng Ding, Rami Hamed over 1.5. Okay. Jose Delgado to win down the center and Tuan Ho to win as an underdog. If you want to parlay those up, it's a high-risk parlay, but it's possible. You want to add Mansur Abdul-Malik, do it. God bless you. As far as Bruno Lopes and Mikhail Sazhiniani, personally, low-caliber light heavyweights that I'm just not so sure about, I would stay away. Bet intelligently on Contender Series. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Definitely let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Drop some of your picks for Contender Series. It's not easy. Contender Series, throw the odds out because it's all about the fights. We're going to find out everything come, later today because this is fight day. Thank you guys for watching. Smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. I appreciate everybody for supporting. Hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of the Contender Series weigh-in recap show for 2024. And stay tuned for more because I'm covering all of them. Much love, everybody. I appreciate you all tuning in. If you got nothing to say in the comments, W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Peace out.